This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter and welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, April the 27th. I know he's deceased, but he was the best I could get on short notice. Anyway, he was born April 27th, but he was born in 1896 and died in 1963. He was one of the best second basemen of all time. In the 1920s and 30s, he was just dominant. You don't know how dominant he was, and no other second baseman could slug like him. Kind of until Davy Johnson and Brett Boone came along. But anyway, he is Rogers Hornsby. Rogers Hornsby played baseball at a young age. And joined the Western Association's Dallas Railroaders. St. Louis found him and scouted him and wanted to take him. The Cardinals actually had an exhibition tournament against the Railroaders. And anyway, the Cardinals manager Miller Huggins told his scout to look for minor league players because the Cardinals were financially struggling. So the Cardinals purchased Hornsby's contract and put him on the Major League roster, even though that his only pro experience was in Class D. Hornsby played September 10th, 1915 for the first time. And then 3 days later, he started a game. He was only 19 years old and batted .246 for a pathetic Cardinals team. Anyway, Hornsby became the starting shortstop for the Cardinals on opening day in 1916. And almost won the Triples crown for the NL, missing out by 1. He was 4th in batting average with .313. Hornsby did much better in 1917, his second full season in the major leagues, with a .327 batting average, which was second in the league. He would lead the league in triples, total bases, and slugging percentage. Hornsby could have been drafted to fight in World War I, but because Hornsby was supporting his family, he was given a draft deferment. That means he didn't have to go into the draft. Anyway, there was animosity between the Cardinals and Hornsby because of both guys' egos. And it didn't help that Miller Huggins left the Cardinals organization and the new manager wasn't really that good anyway. Anyway, Hornsby thought he couldn't play for Hendricks, the manager. Well, the Cardinals president, Branch Rickey, decided to fire him and do it himself. Rickey decided to convert Hornsby to second base. And by 1920, he was for the rest of his career. He awarded Rickey's patience by actually going on a hitting streak. He would actually win the 1920 batting title, his first of 7 National League titles, by batting .370. Of course, the light ball era led to a spike in hitting productivity. Basically, that games couldn't end in like 1-0 snooze fest, if you will. Hornsby looked good and all that. He hit .397 in 1921. Anyway, Hornsby was made the highest paid player in 1922, even before Babe Ruth, and won the Triple Crown, batting average, home runs, and RBIs. His batting average was .401, the highest in the 21st century at the time. He would win the first of his 2. He would lead it with 152 RBIs and how many home runs? 42. Yeah, 42 home runs. That's amazing. A lot of people said, "Oh, 40 home runs. That's nothing special." Well, in 1922 it was. Anyway, Hornsby would have some issues and all that. Hornsby was suspended near the end of the year by the Cardinals because he was dogging an injury, allegedly. But he still won the batting title with a .384. But in 1924, he did much better. He raised his average to .424, which was amazing and all that. The fourth highest in history. And the record for a batting average after 1920. And still, to this day, he did good. He was supposed to be the NL MVP, if you will. Unfortunately, it went to Dazzy Vance, which shocked a lot of people. One voter actually said that he left Hornsby's name off because he thought Hornsby was just a stat sheet MVP, not a team player. But the Baseball Writers of America actually did give Hornsby an award, retroactively giving him the MVP in 1924. That's kind of strange. Hornsby decided to become manager of the Cardinals in 1925, the player manager, and he won the Triple Crown. Again, .403 batting average, 39 home runs, 143 RBIs. He crushed the batting title by 40 points, which was amazing and all that. He won the MVP easily, 73 out of 80 votes. He had the slugging and OPS, on base plus slugging, National League records that stood until Barry Bonds in 2001. So it lasted for 7 decades. Hornsby did okay in a sense. However, Hornsby, as player manager, actually managed to help the Cardinals get to the 1926 World Series where they won Game 7, thanks to Babe Ruth stupidly deciding to try to steal a base with 2 out in the 9th, and he failed. Hornsby had the tag and all that. Hornsby demanded $50,000 a year. And they said, you can have it, but Hornsby must stay away from the track. Hornsby scoffed, and then he got traded. He got traded to the New York Giants for Frankie Frisch. Well, management lost patience with Hornsby. I mean, it's understood and all that. Well, the trade was postponed because the NL president said that Hornsby couldn't play for the Giants because he had stock in the Cardinals. Hornsby was able to sell his shares of the Cardinals, so he became a New York Giant. Anyway, Frankie Frisch would be good for the Cardinals in the 1920s and 30s. Hornsby did well. He was a player coach for a while. Well, he was a coach. He wasn't the manager because John McGraw was, but McGraw had to stand down because of his sinus issues. Hornsby helped the Giants do pretty well, taking third in the NL. McGraw wanted Hornsby as early as 1920. But, of course, Hornsby's overbearing personality ruined him. And he had his gambling problems at the racetrack. So, the Giants said, screw that, we're trading him. So they traded him to the Boston Braves for a couple of players. He was a productive hitter with Boston. 7th batting title at .387. The only time he won a batting title, not with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was good at all that. Hornsby was slated to be the manager of the Boston Braves and all that. The Braves were struggling. They were second last in the NL, and financially it was terrible. The Cubs decided to offer $200,000, or in today's money, over $3.1 million, and 5 players for Hornsby. The Braves had to take the offer and all that. Hornsby actually figured that the Braves couldn't afford him, so he wanted to trade out anyhow. Hornsby would help the Cubs out in 1929, hitting 39 home runs. Collecting the MVP, his first MVP, I believe his only MVP for a team not named the Cardinals, and helped the Cubs win the pennant. But they lost the 1929 World Series. Hornsby did okay, but he struck out 8 times, which wasn't good. He was a sinker-swoop hitter. Hornsby looked good and all that. But after an injury in June, he couldn't play much. He could only pinch hit and all that. Hornsby was given the managerial spots and all that. Hornsby did better in 1931 coming back from his injury. Hornsby played one last game as the Cubs, July 1932, but he had issues. Cubs president William Feck Sr. didn't like Hornsby as a manager, saying that Hornsby's autocratic managing style hurt team morale and all that. For some strange reason, even though the Cubs were in second place, Hornsby was fired as manager and released from the Cubs. The Cubs decided to put Charlie Grimm as manager. Hornsby didn't really play that much. And oddly enough, the Cubs got to the World Series against the Yankees in 1932. They got swept, and Hornsby was not given a share of World Series money. I figured because he wasn't there. Hornsby did not play the rest of 32. But St. Louis decided to give him a chance, so the Cardinals got him back. He would actually do quite well in a sense. In July, he was batting .325 with 2 homers and 21 RBIs. However, the Cardinals sadly waived him. So, that was bad. 3 days later, the crosstown rival St. Louis Browns of the American League decided to make him there. And the Browns made a player management. Hornsby decided to become the manager of a baseball school in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which he did for 18 years. He stayed with the Browns pretty much till 1937. So this was amazing. From 1933 to 1937, he was a St. Louis Browns guy. And he wasn't dealt and all that. Unfortunately, Hornsby was fired as manager and released on July 20th. A lot of people said that, there was a lot of ousters. Unfortunately, Hornsby's compulsive gambling ruined him, and he was placing horse racing bets during the game. Anyway, Hornsby couldn't retire because he lost so much money gambling over the years. So he signed as player coach in the International League with Baltimore in 1938 for going to Chattanooga and all that. Unfortunately, there was a lot of problems and all that. Hornsby had some issues and all that. Anyway, Hornsby tried his best with the St. Louis Browns and Cincy to be a manager, but he just wasn't that way. Hornsby died of a heart attack in 1963. But yeah, as manager, he was 701 and 812. Not bad. He was player manager of the 1926 team that won the World Series for the Cardinals. St. Louis Browns gave him a lot of leeway in a sense, but, he tried. He had a giant legacy. He was the hitting king of the National League compared to Ty Cobb of the American League. So anyway, 7 batting titles. Only 5 players have tied or broken that mark. Ty Cobb with 11, Tony Gwynn with 8, Honus Wagner with 8, Rod Carew with 7, and Stan the Man Musial with 7. So he was only one of 4 players to win, a decade Triple Crown. But yeah, winning the Triple Crown was huge. His 264 home runs as a second baseman was the record till Joe Morgan broke it. That was in 1984. Well, things. Oh, too. He was respected. Very respected. Hornsby legitimately never went to movies or read books, convinced it would harm the batter's eyesight. Unfortunately, he was notoriously difficult to get along with. That's why he changed teams a lot. Compulsive gambling just ruined him and all that. Hornsby still was a legendary player. Well, he was ranked the 3rd greatest second baseman in baseball history in 2001, which was pretty good. Robert Hornsby had some relationship issues. His first wife gave birth to a son, but that son died in 1949 in a plane crash. And then somehow he began seeing somebody behind his first wife's back. They were married, and Hornsby lost control of the kid. But anyway, he would marry a few more times after that. But Roger Hornsby still is one of the greatest second basemen in baseball history. And you can count on that. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.